Ladies and gentlemen, let me start with a confession. If you ever want to test the strength of a woman's patience, just hand her a bucket of love and watch how you treat it. Because listen, every woman is a well, deep, refreshing, nourishing. But the mistake most people make is thinking they can just show up with an empty cup and demand a refill. No, that well doesn't respond to noise, it responds to nurture. Now, the question on this stage is simple but loaded. What is the one sure way to make her pour water? It is not money. It is not looks. It is not the latest "Hey dear" text message at 11:45 p.m. The one sure way to make her pour water is value. When a woman feels valued, truly seen, appreciated, and respected, her water flows without measure. She doesn't ration it. She doesn't second-guess it. She pours until your roots grow, your dreams blossom, your soul is refreshed. But let me be clear, value is not flattery. Anybody can say, "You're beautiful." That's cheap. Value is in action. It is in consistency. It is in remembering her little victories and standing tall with her in the storms. It is in speaking to her potential when the world calls her ordinary. You see, a woman is wired to respond, and the well inside her is waiting for a reason to overflow. But if you give her neglect, she dries up. If you give her dishonor, she locks the well. But give her value, and she will not just pour water, she will drown your desert with rivers. So I leave you with this. If you want to make her pour water, don't bring a cup of entitlement. Bring the seed of value. Water it with respect, sunlight it with kindness, and watch as she turns that seed into a forest that will shade your entire life. Thank you. A woman is like a well, deep, refreshing, and nourishing. This picture captures her essence in a way that goes beyond physical beauty or outward presence. A well is not shallow. Its depth holds water that sustains life, and in the same way, a woman carries within her a reservoir of strength, wisdom, love, and resilience. She is not just what is seen on the surface. Her value lies in the unseen depths of who she is. To understand a woman is to recognize that what she offers cannot be scooped casually or demanded abruptly. Just like a well, her pouring is a response, and her waters flow most freely when approached with respect. When you think about a well, it is a source that gives life. Villages are built around it, families depend on it, and no one can thrive without drawing from it. A woman plays a similar role in the lives of those connected to her. Her nurturing spirit sustains homes, her wisdom directs decisions, and her love creates an environment where growth becomes possible. The energy she gives out is not just for herself, but for everyone who has the privilege of being close to her. However, just like a well, she is not careless with her flow. One cannot demand water from a well by shouting at it or striking it. You draw carefully, gently, with a vessel ready to receive. That's the way a woman responds to, not to entitlement, but to thoughtful approach. The beauty of a well lies not only in the water it holds, but in the promise of refreshment it represents. People come thirsty, and the well restores them. A woman, in the same way, carries an ability to restore others emotionally, mentally, and even spiritually. Her encouragement can lift a weary heart. Her words can inspire confidence. Her quiet presence can heal wounds that are unseen. But just like a well must be maintained, kept clean, and treated with care, a woman thrives when she is valued and honored. If a well is neglected, it becomes polluted. If a woman is neglected, her natural flow begins to dry up. It is important to understand that this water she pours is not automatic. A woman is not an endless resource for anyone who comes casually to take. She responds to the soil around her. When she feels respected, supported, and seen, she overflows. Her giving is not forced, it is her nature to nourish. But her waters are guarded because what is precious cannot be wasted. This is why people often say that when a woman loves deeply, she gives her all. That all is the water of her well, life-giving, refreshing, and sustaining. To call a woman a well is to acknowledge her depth, her quiet power, and her capacity to enrich those around her. It is a reminder that one must approach her with understanding, with value, and with genuine appreciation. Then, and only then, does her well release its abundance. The one sure way to make her pour water is value. This is the heart of the matter, because what a woman responds to most deeply is not wealth, not beauty, not temporary gestures, but the steady presence of value in her life. Value is the recognition of her worth, the acknowledgement of her contribution, and the assurance that she is not taken for granted. It is more than lip service, it is the lived evidence that she matters, and when she feels this truth, her natural instinct is to give, to pour, to overflow. A woman who feels valued does not measure her offering in drops, she gives in streams. Value is not shown in expensive gifts alone. Gifts may sparkle, but if the hands that give them are careless, the sparkle fades quickly. Value is revealed in consistency, in the quiet attentiveness to what matters to her, in remembering the little things that many overlook. It is shown in how one listens when she speaks, how one respects her dreams, and how one treats her even when no one else is watching. This type of value tells her that her presence is not just convenient but cherished. And when she knows she is cherished, her heart opens, her energy flows, and her well of love and support becomes inexhaustible. There is something profound about the way value works. When a woman is valued, she does not feel the need to defend her worth or beg for attention. Instead, she becomes a force of nature, secure in herself and empowered to give her best. In a relationship, this means she pours encouragement, she invests care, she offers loyalty without restraint. In a family, it means she nurtures tirelessly, even when the world outside is harsh. In a community, it means she steps forward with her gifts, unafraid to contribute. Value unlocks her waters, and her waters, once flowing, refresh everyone connected to her. Without value, however, the opposite happens. A woman who feels dismissed or disregarded retreats into herself. Her giving slows not because she lacks the capacity to give, but because giving into a void is draining. Just as a well that is ignored may run dry, a woman who is not valued begins to withhold. Her silence replaces her song. Her caution replaces her overflow. This is why many women, when asked what they desire most, do not mention riches but respect, not flattery but genuine appreciation. They know that when value is absent, no amount of material provision can compensate for the emptiness it creates. To value a woman is to see her as more than what she does. It is to honor who she is. It is to recognize her as a partner, not a servant, as an equal, not an accessory. It is to affirm her dignity, both in private and in public. And when she feels this deeply, pouring water is no longer an effort. It becomes her joy, her instinct, her nature. Her well overflows not because she has to, but because she wants to. That is the power of value, the one sure way to make her pour water. Value is shown through actions, not flattery. Words are easy, effortless, and often repeated without depth. Anyone can say, "You look beautiful," or "You're amazing," but words alone, when not backed up by consistent behavior, quickly lose their weight. A woman can hear compliments 1,000 times, but if they are not supported by actions that prove respect, love, and commitment, they become noise. What truly speaks to her heart is not the melody of flattery but the steady rhythm of action. Actions carry truth. When someone listens carefully to her stories, remembers the details she shares, and takes the time to support her ambitions, those gestures reveal value. When someone makes sacrifices, small or large, to ensure her comfort or growth, those sacrifices outweigh 1,000 sweet words. Flattery may tickle the ears for a moment, but actions nourish the soul for a lifetime. A woman who feels that her worth is affirmed through action does not doubt her place. She knows she is treasured, not just told she is. It is also important to recognize that flattery often serves the flatterer. It is usually given to get something in return, a favor, approval, or attention. But action is selfless. It is an investment that does not demand instant repayment. When a woman sees effort, consistency, and integrity in the way she is treated, she understands that the value placed on her is genuine. For instance, anyone can say, "I support your dreams," but only the person who adjusts their time to encourage her, shares in her struggles, and celebrates her victories proves it with action. This principle extends to the smallest things. It is easy to proclaim love, but far more meaningful to demonstrate it by showing up when it counts. It is easy to call her special, but it is powerful to treat her as special in daily habits, whether it is showing patience in disagreements, choosing kindness in speech, or protecting her dignity in public and private. These actions form the foundation of trust. They say, "I see you, I respect you, and I value you," in a language far stronger than any flattery could ever achieve. When flattery stands alone, it eventually feels empty. A woman can sense when words are shallow or rehearsed, and when she notices that the actions don't match, she begins to doubt their sincerity. But when actions align with words, the message becomes unshakable. She not only hears value, she experiences it. This experience touches her deeply, unlocking her willingness to pour herself fully into the relationship, the family, or the cause she is part of. Value expressed through actions is a mirror of character. It reveals authenticity, commitment, and honor. It is through consistent, thoughtful actions that a woman knows she is not just admired but truly respected. And when she feels that respect, she cannot help but respond generously. She pours her water, not because she was sweet talked into it, but because she has seen, felt, and trusted the value placed upon her. Neglect and dishonor dry up her well. A woman is naturally wired to give, to nurture, and to pour herself into the lives of those she loves. Her well is filled with compassion, wisdom, and strength, and when she is valued, that well flows freely. But when she encounters neglect or dishonor, her flow begins to slow, not because her nature has changed, but because the environment around her has made it unsafe or unworthy to keep pouring. Neglect and dishonor are like dust and stones thrown into a clean well. They contaminate the water, make it difficult to draw from, and eventually discourage anyone from even trying. Neglect takes many forms. It is not only the absence of grand gestures, but the absence of attention, the failure to listen, the failure to notice her needs or acknowledge her efforts. A woman who is consistently overlooked begins to feel invisible, and invisibility is one of the fastest ways to drain her spirit. Imagine giving and giving, yet no one recognizes the effort or even pauses to say thank you. Eventually, her giving becomes harder, her well feels emptier, because what is not appreciated eventually withdraws. Neglect tells her silently, "You don't matter," and those words are powerful enough to stop her flow. Dishonor goes even deeper. It is the act of treating her as less than she truly is, whether through harsh words, public humiliation, betrayal, or disregard for her dignity. Dishonor strips her of the respect that forms the foundation of trust. When a woman feels dishonored, it wounds her spirit, and that wound affects everything she does. A dishonored woman cannot pour fully because her well is being poisoned with pain. She begins to guard herself, to ration her waters, because pouring into a place that disrespects her only leaves her feeling emptier. The tragedy of neglect and dishonor is that they often come from those closest to her. Outsiders may not have the power to touch her well, but those she loves and serves most hold the keys to it. A partner who ignores her sacrifices, a family that dismisses her voice, a society that undervalues her contributions, all these dry her up from within. And yet many expect her to keep giving endlessly, forgetting that a well cannot pour when it is no longer filled. On the other hand, when neglect and dishonor are replaced with attention and respect, her well is restored. She feels seen, valued, and safe to give freely again. Just as a well that has been blocked can be cleaned and made useful once more, a woman who has been neglected or dishonored can find her flow again when genuine care and honor are offered to her. But until then, she protects her waters, because no source can continue to give when it is constantly drained without replenishment. This truth reminds us that if you want her well to flow, you cannot afford neglect, and you must never permit dishonor. To keep her pouring, she must be honored, valued, and treated as the treasure she truly is. When valued, she overflows naturally. A woman does not need to be forced, persuaded, or begged to give when she feels appreciated. Giving is part of her design, and pouring into others is her natural instinct. What determines whether that instinct blossoms or withers is how much value she feels around her. When she is genuinely valued, her well does not just trickle, it overflows. Her words become sweeter, her love becomes richer, and her presence becomes a constant source of nourishment to everyone connected to her. Value, in this sense, is like sunlight to a flower. Just as a flower turns toward the sun without hesitation, a woman turns toward those who honor her worth. She blossoms effortlessly because the conditions around her affirm that her presence is not only welcomed but cherished. This overflow is not calculated or forced. It is the natural response of a heart that has been nurtured. The way she speaks, the way she serves, the way she stands by those she loves, it all multiplies when she knows she is valued. You can see this truth reflected in relationships, families, and communities. A woman who feels valued at home becomes the heartbeat of that home, creating peace and warmth that everyone can feel. Her energy transforms a house into a sanctuary. In a relationship, she invests herself fully, pouring encouragement, loyalty, and unwavering support because she is confident that her efforts are neither ignored nor wasted. In her workplace or community, she rises to leadership, creativity, and boldness when her contributions are recognized. Her overflow becomes a gift to the entire environment she is part of. The beauty of this overflow is that it is sustainable. Unlike forced giving, which eventually exhausts her, the kind of giving that flows from being valued actually energizes her. The more she feels appreciated, the more she finds joy in pouring. Value fuels her spirit, and that energy circles back to those who gave it to her in the first place. Everyone benefits from her abundance because she is giving from a place of fullness, not depletion. On the other hand, When value is absent, her giving becomes limited and often reluctant. She may still offer care out of duty, but it lacks the vibrancy of overflow. But the moment she feels recognized and honored, the change is visible. Her smile becomes brighter, her patience longer, her creativity sharper, and her love deeper. She does not calculate how much to give, because she trusts that what she pours is respected. A woman valued is a woman empowered, and empowerment naturally leads to overflow. This is why the most life-giving relationships, families, and communities are those where women are not just present but valued. Their overflow becomes the river that sustains life around them. To value her is not just to receive her best, but to release a wellspring that refreshes everyone in reach. When she is valued, she does not only pour, she overflows, and that overflow becomes a blessing beyond measure. Value must be nurtured like a seed. Value is not a one-time gesture or a single act of kindness that is expected to last forever. Just as a seed does not become a flourishing tree overnight, the value a woman feels must be planted, watered, and cared for consistently. A seed needs soil, sunlight, and water to grow. In the same way, a woman needs respect, attention, and steady love to thrive. When this nurturing is present, she grows into her fullest self, and her growth benefits everyone around her. A seed left unattended will either wither or struggle to grow, even if it was healthy when first planted. The same is true of value. A woman who is shown care at the beginning but later neglected will eventually feel the absence of that nurturing. The initial gestures may have been meaningful, but without continuity, they lose their effect. Real value is in the long term, in the steady commitment to keep honoring her, supporting her, and showing her that her presence matters. Nurturing value is also about intentionality. Just as a farmer pays attention to the needs of the seed, how much water it requires, how much sunlight is too much, a person must pay attention to what makes her feel most seen and appreciated. For one woman, it may be words of affirmation. For another, it may be acts of service or the simple act of listening deeply. Nurturing means noticing, adapting, and committing to meet her needs in ways that speak to her heart. When value is nurtured like a seed, the results are remarkable. The seed does not remain small, it grows into a tree that offers shade, fruit, and beauty for years to come. Similarly, a woman who is valued consistently expands in her capacity to love, to give, and to flourish. She becomes more confident, more joyful, and more resilient. Her growth spreads outward, enriching the people, relationships, and communities she touches. What started as small, intentional acts of value transforms into a legacy of abundance. Neglecting the seed, however, has the opposite effect. If a farmer waters a seed once and walks away, the soil will dry and the seed may never sprout. If someone only shows a woman value occasionally, perhaps on birthdays, anniversaries, or when it is convenient, her well cannot overflow. Sporadic care produces weak roots, but constant, steady nurturing produces strength that can withstand storms. This is why nurturing value must become a lifestyle, not an event. The truth is that value, like a seed, multiplies when tended to. A small, consistent act of kindness grows into trust. A thoughtful word grows into deeper intimacy. A habit of respect grows into an unbreakable bond. Over time, these small seeds of value create a forest of loyalty, peace, and love. And just as a tree keeps producing fruit season after season, a valued woman keeps pouring herself out joyfully, year after year. To nurture value is to commit to the long game. It is to see beyond the moment and to invest in her as a living well whose waters never run dry when cared for. With this kind of nurturing, her value is not only sustained but multiplied, creating a harvest that blesses everyone in its reach.